Hello and welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Christina Stidham, Digital Content Director at Women in Retail Leadership Circle. Today I'm joined by Vanessa Quigley, co-founder and Chatbooker-in-Chief of Chatbooks, the photo subscription company for busy moms. In this episode, we're discussing mom guilt, how Chatbooks innovated to capture memories during COVID-19, what moms can bring to business, Vanessa's podcast about motherhood, and so much more. So thanks for joining me today, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me.
So first off, tell me all about Chatbooks and what inspired you to launch the business.
Well, Chatbooks, like you said, photo books for busy moms or busy parents. I am the mother of 7. And actually, I'm the oldest of 12. And my mother somehow was able to create scrapbooks, not like comprehensive documentation of our entire family story, but enough scrapbooks that I knew that there was power in holding on to and knowing your family story. And so I started scrapbooking as soon as I had my first baby. And that was a creative outlet for me, but also it felt like a really important job to be done as a mom. But as I had more kids and less time, I quit scrapbooking. And honestly, as digital photography became the mainstay, that changed the way I handled photographs. And so fast forward to where my youngest, who is now 13, when he was 5, he had come home from school and was very emotional. And I caught him crying in his room. And when I asked what was wrong, he told me that he never wanted to grow up, which was adorable to be 5 and already feel a little sentimental
Aww.
like that. But I had seen that he had been clutching to his chest a photo book that his preschool teacher had made for him as a preschool graduation gift. And he'd been looking back on that and reminiscing on just that one little year of his life, photos from the class party and the trip to the fire station and whatnot. And I was so grateful that she had taken the time to make this for him, but I also was just flooded with tons of mom guilt that I was failing in one of my most important jobs, that he had nothing else to look back on. And that was the aha moment and the impetus that started Chatbooks.
Wow, what a sweetheart. That is just so cute. And yeah, it really did give you a great idea. But I know you just mentioned mom guilt, and I wanted to talk to you about that. It's obviously a huge issue for working moms, but the way you actually used that feeling as fuel to create this family-focused company is really cool. So can you talk about that process and how Chatbooks can help other parents who are feeling that burnout and feeling that guilt?
Yeah, I mean, mom guilt is real. You can feel it about anything from like the type of meal you're cooking and how your house looks and how well your kids behave to how many scrapbooks or photo books or do you have any printed photos? I mean, we can and sometimes do feel guilt about all of these things. And, as far as the mom guilt that helped propel, this business idea into motion, it was about the fact that I hadn't even printed a single photo of this poor child. And necessity is a mother of invention. In that moment where I felt that guilt, I thought, you know what? I'm never going to scrapbook again. I'm never going to be that organized. I'm never going to pull out all my pens and punches and stickers and do all that again. That is in the past. Now I basically document our family story on Instagram. We've moved around a lot, and Instagram was this cool new app back in the day that allowed me to stay connected to my friends and my family. And so I was sharing, highlights, bits and pieces of our family story, photo with a little caption, which is essentially was the journaling component. And in that moment of guilt, I had this thought that, man, if I could just print my Instagram posts, he would have something more to look at.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect. It's not a complete, comprehensive compilation of everything that our family has done, but something is better than nothing. And those two phrases, done is better than perfect and something is better than nothing, has been something that has kind of like led me throughout all of my motherhood and in the way that I run our business. So often we get just paralyzed by perfection and all the things that we feel like we should be doing. As a mother, I know I feel that in like all of those areas, and I have to fight that. But then also, as we were carving out this niche for ourselves in our business, there are lots of other companies that you can make a photo book with. I had tried them. They were hard. It was overwhelming. There were too many decisions to make. The pricing was confusing. They were expensive. We decided to just like strip away everything, get to the bare bones, done is better than perfect. Something's better than nothing. And we created a way for families, busy moms like me, to be able to hold on to the memories and the stories of their family's life.
Wow, I love those two little learnings, and paralyzed by perfection. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
so true of so many people. It's like, I'm so nervous. I don't know if I'm going to do it right. It's like, well, trying is better than not trying. I love that.
Right. And I'm also a big proponent of like, just forget about the past. Forget about all of the stuff that you haven't printed and you haven't documented and you haven't done. When it comes to storytelling and like holding in your memory, start today. Every day we take more pictures. Like, just start now and move forward. And maybe someday later, in a perfect world, you can go back and start digging through all of I mean, I still have photos in shoe boxes. I don't know when I'm ever going to get to those. At the pace of my life is going right now, I can barely just keep up with today. But forget about the past, start today.
Right. And can you just share briefly like how it works? So do you plug in your Instagram, Chatbooks prints you out a book once a year?
Yeah. In the very beginning, we printed our first book 6 years ago. And in the very beginning, it basically was just an API, plug in your Instagram account to the Chatbooks app, and we would pull in all of your posts and the captions and the dates. And it was awesome because for people who had been using Instagram, they were basically curating their camera roll with the highlights, and they had this caption.
Yeah.
And in like 5 minutes or less, they would have just volumes of photos in their captions. It was magic. It was kind of like the National Geographic of your life, magazine of your life. And that's how we started. But I don't use Instagram the same way I did 6 years ago. It used to feel more like a place with friends and family where you felt like sharing these intimate, more personal things. And now it feels more like a shopping mall. And I don't use Instagram the same way. And as we started to see habits change, and I also knew that there were photos that I would like to have printed in books that I'm not going to share with the whole world, we quickly added other products. And so for today, you can make photo books from your camera roll, from Google Photos, from all kinds of different photo sources. And we still do have the print your Instagram. You can also print your Facebook for people who still use social media to document and share. But our latest products, they're monthly subscriptions. You pick 30 photos from your camera roll. They're called month books and monthly minis, and it's super easy. We have software that helps you pick through. I know for me, and I know lots of moms, you don't just take one picture of the kids, doing something cute. You take 10 of them because you want the one where everyone's looking nice. And so we have software that helps you pick the best photo out of the duplicates. But yeah, that's how it works. You can make books from social media, from your camera roll, and they are super affordable. We try to price them in a way that cuts out all of the confusion, although it is like a battle because consumers are so conditioned to want a coupon that like they don't even really pay attention to real price. All they know is if they're getting 50% off. And so we battling through that psychology while maintaining lowest price and communicating to our customers that we have the lowest price without feeling like we have to gamify everything. Because I think for me, that's not fun, having to, worry about, am I getting the best deal? And where can I find this coupon code? And maybe they're going to offer something better tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely can be a stressful time looking around for that. But you're right. And people are so used to digging around. It's like, no, like this price is good already. As believe
Right.
me, you're not going to get this anywhere else. So you had talked about starting an Instagram, innovating to camera roll, all these different media sources. Talking more about innovation over the past year during COVID-19 has spurred a lot of innovation, especially in retail. And I know that Chatbooks launched a special offer called Stork Series for new
Yeah.
moms. So can you tell us about this great idea? How did you come up with it? How did your customers respond in the past year?
Yeah. Well, our mission statement at Chatbooks is to strengthen families. And we really feel like that's what we're doing with our products. I know my family feels strengthened as we look through the photo books that I order for our family. But in a time of COVID where families were adding new members to their family, women that were having babies and completely isolated and couldn't meet with grandparents and neighbors and friends, like that was a very unusual time. And we actually have quite a few women on our team who who are on maternity leave or getting ready to have babies, and it became a real issue. And we were thinking about it, and we thought, what can we do to help parents at this unusual time. And so we launched an offer for a year's worth of Chatbooks, the Stork series. We allowed the first 1,000 people who wrote in that were having babies during COVID to claim the offer, and they went fast. I will say we went very fast, and we ended up extending the offer to anyone beyond that. We gave them all each a couple of free books, but I think it did wonders for these new families, but it also did really great things for our business. The offer drove 5,000 new customer requests and generating one new inquiry every 3 minutes. So I would say it was a win-win. We also did something towards the end of the year. I know in our family, we love to go visit Santa Claus at the holidays, and that wasn't possible for a lot of people. So we put together a virtual Santa visit that booked up in less than 5 minutes. We had all of our slots with all of our Santas on every day booked, but it provided a magical experience for kids to get their photo with Santa and have a little conversation and hopefully put those photos in their chat books.
Wow. Yeah. That's so much fun. And of course, you're right. People were looking for brands that actually showed that they cared during COVID, and reaching out to new moms and giving them a couple of free books to kickstart, their journey with their new baby. That's such a great way to, just be caring during that time, be compassionate, and also, as you said, grow your business alongside
Yeah.
it.
Another thing about that Stork series I forgot to mention, not only did the new family get their books, but we ordered extra copies to send to grandparents. So there's that connection piece, because the grandparents especially were so isolated during that time, and, receiving a book full of photos every month from the new baby, that was really special.
Yeah, that probably brought people so much joy.
Yeah.
And so, pivoting a little bit away from business, to talk more about motherhood and your background, we always talk about here at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, I feel like it's constant conversation, how women hold so much buying power, yet they're often not running companies. So, and I think only a mother could have recognized the need for something like Chatbooks and created such a seamless experience. Honestly, I mean, is there anyone else who would have thought of that? Probably not. So can you talk about the perspective that moms can bring to business and why moms
Yeah.
are an asset to any company?
Well, this played out so spot on in the start of our business, because actually years ago, my husband, when he sold his last software business, he and I share a passion for family history and family stories, and he really wanted the pinnacle of his career to be software that would help families safeguard, organize, and enjoy family memories.
Oh,
And
wow.
I know, and I love that was his mission and his passion, and I was all in on spending our money to build this out. This is going to be the legacy of his career. But he went about it in a very different way than I would have. But he's the software expert. He's got the MBA from Harvard. I was like, okay, well, you must know what you're doing. Okay, just keep going. It'll work eventually, because he's always been successful. But years into it, and after raising angel money and still not getting traction, and in fact, we moved our family from Florida. We were living on the beach in the Space Coast in Florida. We moved all the way to Utah, because it is like the focus here in Utah, the culture, everything is about family. It's a family history center of the universe. Also, it was a real exciting place, startup community, a great place to start a business. That was a big sacrifice for our family to move from Florida to Utah. But this is how willing I was to support this idea, because I cared a lot about the mission and the idea of helping families with their memories. But in the end, he needed me to be more vocal about exactly how we were doing it, because he was solving a problem like a guy would with enterprise software for families. But I don't want enterprise software. I just want a book, and I want to do it without any work. And the software that he and a couple of dudes had built, it was beautiful. It was intricate. It was complicated. It required a lot from me. I had to really lean in and use it. And, in the end, after we'd moved to Utah and we were, starting to get a little scared, hey, we've fully invested in this idea. It was actually called Folk Story at first, and then he rebranded to Just Family. And here we are in Utah, nothing's working. And I had this experience with my son, and I came downstairs and I'm like, babe, I have an idea. Put everything on the shelf and figure out how to print my Instagram. And for the first time, he like really listened. Like I could see just the wheels chugging in his head, like, uh-huh, okay, I think this could work. I think at that moment he was, what does he say? Compelled to be humble. He was, at a point where he's like, I got to find something that works. And so he took my idea. They did like a hack week or two. We had a prototype. We started showing it to friends and family. And we started hearing things like, where can I get this? Shut up and take my money. Where in the past we would show, what he was building to focus groups. I would bring my friends, together for these focus groups, and they'd be like, oh yeah, this is great. I should totally do that. Well, should is the kiss of death. If you hear your focus group say, I should do this, run. It's not going to work. We knew we were onto something, and, he never would have gotten there without me. And it never would have gotten to where we are today without all of the many amazing women and mothers that we hired to be on our team. So, I think women are an asset to any company. Mothers are an asset to any company. Like you said, we have so much of the buying power. But the contrast of the years before I officially joined the company with my brilliant idea, and the years after, they're pretty stark. And so, yeah, we saw that play out in our company in a very real and kind of painful way.
Yeah, that is a great story. I mean, right there is proof, because
Yeah.
moms don't want to have to do 1,000 extra things just to get a picture of their kid in a book. So yeah, and you realize that and put that into place. So my next question was actually going to be, talking about what was the process to actually launch the company, but I think you just spoke about that. So let's talk about your personal background before Chatbooks. Did you have any experience in retail at all, or any experience being at the helm of a business? And if not, how did you kind of transition into that?
Yeah, I had zero experience actually in retail, in software, in business, in any of that. I actually was a trained opera singer. I went to college and studied music and wanted to be an
Wow.
international opera singer. Yeah, but then I also had a baby while I was in college, and so that kind of changed that little path for me. But I love performing. I love singing. I love storytelling. I worked at Walt Disney World in entertainment when I was in high school, and even as I was having my kids, I worked in theater as an actress and a singer. So that is my passion. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life, until I had this idea that completely changed the trajectory of the company Nate was building, that essentially we were building because he was using my money. And then I joined the team, and basically through Google, I learned everything I know today. Google, and talking to anybody who would listen. Asking a lot of questions, a couple of mentors in this space that really helped me, not only with, ideas about, marketing and product development, but a lot of my confidence. Like I just didn't have the confidence. I think now they call it imposter syndrome. That is what I felt, because I was not a degreed, certified, experienced
Right.
businesswoman. And I was being put like on the stage and in front of a lot of people, and, in the boardroom to like act like I am. And, because I am an actress, I could fake it. But I had this really deep, ingrained like imposter feeling of being an imposter. But as soon as I flipped that script in my head to I'm an imposter to I'm learning, it opened up like a whole new
Right.
world of possibilities, that I don't need to know everything. How on earth would I know everything? This is my first time doing this. And it made me feel like I can ask questions. Like even in a board meeting, if they were talking about everyone loves acronyms in business. And sometimes I don't know that acronym you're talking about. And instead of secretly Googling it, hoping that I can figure out what it means before I have to contribute to the conversation, I can just ask, because it's okay. How am I supposed to know that? That was so empowering for me and liberating. And it's also, made me realize that that's something that I want to speak up about on, if I ever get a platform for other women who are, wanting to be an entrepreneur or want to start a business. Is okay if you don't know everything. It's okay. And it's okay to feel a little like less than qualified, but if you've got the passion for it and, a little bit of humility and a lot of grit, then you're going to be able to find success.
Wow, that is a powerful quote right there. I love everything you're saying. Yeah, we talk about imposter syndrome a lot, and how you don't have to pretend like you already know everything, because nobody knows everything. You're always going to have to be learning, and it's okay to ask questions. And I think that actually shows that you're stronger and more dedicated to improving as well. So talking about, having a platform and sharing things with other moms. I know you also host your own podcast, which is really fun, called Mom Force, where women get real about motherhood. So I'm wondering if you could share any interesting conversations that you've had on your show, maybe around being a working mom or stress management, or just anything you think our listeners would find interesting from Mom Force.
Yes, actually, my most recent interview was with Jamie Kern Lima. She is the founder and CEO of It Cosmetics, $1 billion cosmetic company, wildly successful. She talked a lot in our interview about rejection and how, for her, as she was trying to build her business, rejection became like a badge of honor and helped her solidify her why. I think that just spoke to me so much as an entrepreneur, but also as a mother, because, as a mother, you get rejected constantly by your kids. They don't like what you made for dinner. They don't think the clothes you bought them was cool. They don't like the music that you chose while you're driving carpool. And you can let that crush you and like destroy your soul, or you can take it as a badge of honor. But she also, like, to get to where, she is today, she's put in a lot of hard work. And she talked about how 100-hour weeks were common for her. And, something that I think women are constantly striving for is balance. But she flat out said, balance is a lie, and that something has to give. And, I learned that a long time ago, but I loved hearing her say that. I think the concept of balance, especially for women, just makes us feel like we're failing all the time. And, whatever you decide is right for you. And another guest that I had on recently is Shay McGee, the founder of McGee & Co. They have a very popular Netflix series and a line at Target, a home decor, interior design company. I binge watched her whole season, like in one day of her Netflix show. And I was just in awe of what she's built and what she's capable of. And in our interview, we were talking about not only how she built her business but how she's building her family alongside of it. And the sacrifices that have to be made. And she talked about how having friends outside of work is just not an option for her, and how lonely it can sometimes be building a business. And that was something that I have really felt too, between wanting to be there for my business and be there for my family. I have a hard time finding time for socializing outside of those two things. And in fact, loneliness has been a real hot topic in our Mom Force group, because I think motherhood can be really, really lonely. And our Mom Force community and the podcast grew out of this desire to find connection. In fact, our Mom Force Facebook group started as a place for the women that work at Chatbooks, who are also mothers, to talk and share things and support one another. And it has grown to almost 10,000 members from there, of other women who, we're all in this together, and, lending support and answering questions. And they're just also hopefully solving some of that loneliness epidemic that I think is rampant today, but especially with mothers.
Yeah, you're so right. And especially after this past year, so many more moms just returning to being stuck in the house all the time with their kids,
Yeah.
and feeling definitely alone. So that's really important conversation. So just real quick, if people wanted to find out more about Mom Force, or listen in, or find you on Facebook, where can they go?
Well, we have a very active Facebook group on Mom Force by Chatbooks. We also have a Mom Force book club. We have a Mom Force Peloton group. We've got a Mom Force cooking channel. But all of our podcast episodes can be accessed anywhere you get your podcasts.
Perfect. And just two last questions here. Could you share like your top tip for other women who have a great idea but aren't sure how or where to start?
Yeah, I am a huge proponent of talking to anyone you can think of and really listening. Like, get advice, get a take on your idea, expand your network. I really, like I said, I don't believe there's any such thing as a dumb question. I know sometimes people feel like they have such a revolutionary idea that it's top secret, and they're afraid to talk about it, that someone might steal it. But I think if you're serious and you're ready to move, then you're already ahead of the game, and you can learn so much by talking to people.
Awesome. And for my last question, what's next for you personally and at Chatbooks?
Well, for me personally, I just had 2 children get married within 6 weeks of each other. So we are in a very new phase of our
Wow.
family. My 3 oldest children are now married. And I'm learning how to,
Congratulations.
thank you. But, it does add a new flavor of strengthening family, learning how to continue to build those bonds with in-laws. So I'm learning all about that. But for Chatbooks, we do have a couple exciting things on the horizon. We are working on making it social. In fact, the company is called Chatbooks because I feel like family stories and family memories is supposed to be social. I hope that when people open their books, that they start conversations with their kids, with their grandparents, with whoever's around about those stories, because it's so important in fostering self-esteem and like there's a whole host of positive outcomes that come when we talk about our family stories. But we're building into the app a social layer that will continue to facilitate those conversations, but also create another way to actually make the books. And also we've got a software idea, a software subscription that's going to help customers also hold on to their family videos as well. I feel like we've got a great solution for photos, for all of those photos in our camera roll, but I've yet to see a good video solution out there in the world. And so we are working on software that will solve that problem. Oh, and we also have a big company pickleball tournament coming up that I am really looking forward to. So yeah, a lot of good stuff.
So much fun. Awesome. Well, good luck with everything. It sounds like you have a lot in the works, and I really appreciate you talking with me today. So thank you so much for joining me on Women in Retail Talks.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcast for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.